arguably the greatest investor of all time, even possibly better than Warren Buffett, although unlikely, is Peter Lynch. Now, I am here in Bergen, Norway. You can see this little sign right there behind me. I just crossed the Atlantic, so I've been in Europe now twice over the last 2 months, South America, Asia, and I was listening to an interview with Downtown Josh Brown talking directly with Peter Lynch. And I want to share a quick story about Peter Lynch, where if you can think about somebody, if you listen or if you're a sports fan, Peter Lynch is like the Barry Sanders of investing. And what that means is that Barry Sanders was the undeniably greatest running back to ever play football in the NFL. And he abruptly retired when he was 30. And if we think about that in today's sense, like if you have running backs like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, I think is 28. These are guys, Derrick Henry, who is 31, 32 years old. There's a lot of guys that will play past that age. Adrian Peterson played till he was like 36, 37. Same with Emmitt Smith. Sanders was done when he was 30. He just called it. He's like, I'm done. And the reason why I'm bringing the Barry Sanders story up is because a very similar person is Peter Lynch. Peter Lynch, at the age of 46, who was running Fidelity, decided, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to retire. I'm going to hang out with my 3 kids and my wife. 1990, I'm calling it. I got plenty of money, and I'm actually going to move on and just do my own thing. And I think the interesting part with that is that a lot of people always think like, hey, I just want to make a lot of money and retire. And like, he actually did that, right? But not only did he do it, but he was the greatest in the world and did it. It's like when Michael Jordan retired the first time, right? So I think like when you see someone like that, and this was before social media, so he's running Fidelity, and he's also essentially doing tons of interviews, writing books. He was like the first like true social media guy in the investing space, as far as I believe, because in 1990 no one was doing as much as him. Now I didn't know, obviously, but I wanted to share some of the big things just that he talks about in his interview. And like the first aspect, there's going to be, I think there's going to be 6 different lessons I think we can all take away from this. And I think those 6 lessons we can apply and immediately start to improve the way that we're investing. The first one is how much he talks about surrounding himself with just the right people. But he even goes into his entry into investing at an early age where, as a young kid, he was a caddy. And he's like, I just happened to be a caddy, and I was talking, and my parents made me get a job early on, and I eventually started to learn what these guys were doing if I was caddying for them. So I was fortunate because I was at a decent golf course, and I heard him talking about investing. I heard him talking about money, and then I would start to talk to other people about money. I'd have these guys telling me one thing, I'd say something to another guy, and they would think I knew what I was talking about. And I started to realize like I had a pretty big passion for this because I started to put money into it, not me, him. And I think it's interesting because we've talked about passion in the past, and we've talked about what that does. And by the time he was 21, he was interviewing with the president of Fidelity. It might have been Magellan at the time, to work for him. And it's really, really cool because there's a lot of evidence that says by the age of like 16 to 18, like you have some type of impressionable impact from the age of like 12 to 14, and then you basically cultivate that deeper and deeper and deeper till you're about 18, and then you really want to get into it, and then that tends to be your passion. And if you don't do that, you tend to be somebody who might be a little bit more lost. And I think that not only is surrounding yourself with good people, but also getting into that passion. Now, a second thing related to actual stocks is that he actually talks about more people tend to lose money prepping for corrections than actually losing money in the corrections. And I want to bring this up because this touches home for me. So this past year, I'm watching Nike's stock. I got like $30,000 in it, and I'm just sitting there like, man, what the heck is going on with this? It's going sideways. It's going sideways. And I was this close on 3 different occasions of exiting the Nike holding that I had. I just kept sitting there. I was getting impatient, and then I started thinking, well, it's just going to keep going down. They brought back Elliott Hill, but who knows what he's going to do? And I was reading everything, going through all their reports and stuff, and I'm going through everything, and I'm sitting there going, let's just sit on a little bit more. Do you really think Nike, can get beaten? Let's just sit on a little bit more, be patient. And then all of a sudden, I'm up. Now it's October, I'm up 11% in my Nike holding. And it's one of those things that instead of prepping for that correction, or instead of prepping for it and looking at it, I was looking at the balance sheet, I was looking at everything, and I didn't exit it. I just kept staying patient. And I think this goes into the third aspect of what he talks about. And I would say the third and the fourth aspect, he sort of piggyback off of one another, is that it goes into know what you own. And so I had remembered from one of Peter Lynch's books, like writing a script of the products that you own, or the companies that you own. And this he recaps with Josh Brown as he talks about know what you own. Know the company that you own, know what they do, know what they're, just have an idea. And the fourth part of that is, a fourth lesson here is be able to explain that stock to an 11-year-old. And I'm actually thinking through my stocks right now. I'm going, okay, I just bought a decent holding of Celsius, which I didn't share with anyone yet. I can tell you Celsius is an energy drink company. Elf, makeup company. AMD, software. In the AI space, Meta, social media, advertising, Amazon, AWS, advertising, Google. We can go through every single thing and talk through what that company does. And if you don't know what the company does, and this goes back to Nike, and even with SoFi, with Nike, I'm sitting there going at the time, look, you know what they do. They're successful. They just brought back their CEO at the time, like 6 months prior. And that he had a big impact when he was with the company before. Not as a CEO. He wasn't a CEO before, but he did a good job. So stick with it. And I think that is a big factor that all of us tend to forget, is that I can tell my 10-year-old kid what stocks I own and explain to him the company. Now, the next thing, so know what you own is number 3, and be able to explain it to an 11-year-old would be number 4. And then number 5, don't play stocks specifically unless you own your home. So he sort of says this in passing, where he's talking about somebody who has 3 kids, they're going to go to college, blah, blah, blah. Like, you shouldn't be playing around with a stock market. You should be in an index. You should be in an ETF or a mutual fund. And I think that might be like the first time I've ever heard that, ironically, is like he was just so matter of fact, like, unless you own your house, you shouldn't be in specific stocks. You shouldn't be in singular stocks. And those are like, I want to sit on it a little bit longer, but it's something I wanted to share with you guys because it's a very specific point of like, okay, and he talks about this with pullbacks, with corrections, with recessions. If there's a depression or anything, he's like, look, 63% of Americans own their home. So there's a lot of things, and now we have, Roth IRAs, we have better retirement than they used to. And so he was essentially going on saying, like, there's a lot of buffer built in to prevent huge, crazy recessions from really impacting people negatively. And in this case, owning your home is a big deal. It's a really freaking big deal. And you can still be in, SCHD, SPMO, VOO, and do well, right? And then the one final thing that he brought up that I really, really like, because I feel this way a lot, is any time with a good company is a good time to come into that company. And he's talking about specific companies that he got into, like Chrysler, at different times, and he basically was like, oh, well, a lot of people will look at a market, or they'll look at a stock and they'll say, well, it's been up, it's up 10% already, it's up 15%, it's up 50%. And then 10 years from now, it's going to be up, 1,000%, but you don't want to go into it because it's already up 50% or whatever it might be. And I've had this where, actually, when I got into Palantir, I didn't want to get into it because that had already come up like 800%, but I could still make money on it. And I think that's a big lesson, is that there's still a point, if you know what the company is, you can explain it to a 10-year-old, you can understand the company, and you're talking to people and they're echoing what you're doing, it's probably a decent time to get into it. You can still hold it, play the long game, and then see what ends up happening. So I wanted to share that. It was a really great interview. Peter Lynch, the Barry Sanders of the investing world, or probably Barry Sanders is the Peter Lynch of the football world. But it's cool to hear him now that he's 80. Does he have regrets? What does he think about all this stuff? Nope. It's pretty cool that somebody got out at the age of 46. I hope this helps somebody out there. Until next time, peace.